Landing a major movie role should be a dream come true, but for these actors, it became a nightmare. Some were fired after filming had already begun, while others were replaced after months of work. Here are the stars who lost their roles when Hollywood changed its mind. Johnny Depp had already started filming the next Fantastic Beasts movie when his time in the franchise suddenly came to an end. Depp played the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald and remained in the role through the first 2 films, despite ongoing controversy surrounding his casting. But after losing a libel case against The Sun in 2020, he was asked to resign from the series. By that point, Depp had already filmed 1 scene for Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. The production moved forward with a new Grindelwald, and Mads Mikkelsen eventually stepped into the role with his own interpretation of the character. Julianne Moore had already secured the lead role in an acclaimed movie when creative disagreements brought everything to a halt. Moore was originally set to star in Can You Ever Forgive Me, but her vision for the character reportedly differed from that of screenwriter and original director Nicole Holofcener. According to Moore, the two had different ideas about where the character should be, and that difference ultimately led to her being fired from the project. The role later went to Melissa McCarthy, and the film went on to receive widespread acclaim. Moore later admitted that the experience remained painful for her. Jean-Claude Van Damme thought he was about to show the world his martial arts skills in a major Hollywood movie. Instead, he discovered he had been cast as the Predator itself. The role wasn't part of the special ops team battling the alien. It was the alien. According to special effects artist Steve Johnson, Van Damme didn't realize the job was essentially a stunt role that required spending the entire production inside a bulky creature suit. Expecting something very different, he became frustrated with the situation. Not long after production began, the arrangement fell apart, and Van Damme was replaced by Kevin Peter Hall. Richard Gere lost a movie role after an on-set feud spiraled completely out of control. Gere was originally part of the cast of The Lords of Flatbush, appearing alongside Sylvester Stallone and Henry Winkler. According to Stallone, the 2 actors never got along, and tensions kept building during production. The breaking point reportedly came during a lunch break in the backseat of a car when Gere accidentally spilled mustard on Stallone's pants. Stallone said the argument immediately turned physical, forcing the filmmakers to make a decision. In the end, Gere was removed from the project, and the role was recast before the movie moved forward. Samantha Morton finished her work on a movie, only to be replaced after filming was already done. In Her, Morton originally voiced the computer operating system that Joaquin Phoenix's character falls in love with. According to director Spike Jonze, everything seemed fine during production, and Morton helped give Phoenix plenty to work with during scenes. But once the team reached the editing stage, they realized the version they had created wasn't working for what the character needed. That led to a rare recasting after filming, with another actress brought in to completely replace the voice audiences would eventually hear. Holly Hunter spent 8 months working on a Disney movie, only to lose the role when the entire character was redesigned. Hunter was originally the voice of Chicken Little during production, when the protagonist was a girl, but Disney later decided to shift the movie toward a more action-focused adventure and reimagine Chicken Little as a boy instead. That major creative change meant Hunter's work was no longer needed. After months of recording dialogue, she was replaced by Zach Braff, whose voice was later adjusted in post-production. The movie that audiences eventually saw was very different from the version Hunter had originally helped create. Colin Firth made it all the way through production on Paddington and even appeared in a released trailer, yet audiences never heard his version of the famous bear. Firth was originally cast as Paddington's voice and remained attached to the project until post-production. As the filmmakers finished shaping the character, they reached an unexpected conclusion. The voice and the bear didn't seem to fit together. The decision was described as amicable, and Firth later acknowledged that the character simply didn't have his voice. In the end, Ben Whishaw stepped in as a last-minute replacement, becoming the voice that audiences would come to associate with Paddington. Harvey Keitel landed the lead role in one of cinema's most famous war films, and then lost it shortly after filming began. During the troubled production of Apocalypse Now, Keitel and director Francis Ford Coppola reportedly disagreed about how the character of Willard should be portrayed. Keitel believed his experience as a Marine Corps rifleman, squad leader, and fire team leader gave him valuable insight into the role, but the creative differences remained. Not long after shooting started, Coppola decided to replace him. The role went to Martin Sheen, and the film eventually became both a commercial success and a critically acclaimed classic. Judy Garland was more than a month into filming a major musical when the studio decided to replace her. Garland had been cast as Annie Oakley in Annie Get Your Gun, but the production quickly became chaotic. Her co-star suffered an injury, the director was fired, and tensions continued to build. Eventually, MGM sent Garland a firing letter that blamed her for substantial delays during filming. After already spending weeks on the project, she lost the lead role and was replaced by Betty Hutton. The experience marked another difficult chapter in Garland's career, and she parted ways with MGM the following year. Dennis Hopper was cast in The Truman Show as the powerful producer Christof, but his time on the movie was surprisingly short. Hopper had only been filming the role for 2 days, even though his scenes were expected to take around 10 days to complete. Then, over creative differences, he was removed from the production. Hopper later explained that he had an agreement with producer Scott Rudin that he would be fired if his work wasn't satisfactory. The sudden departure created a major challenge because production risked shutting down if a replacement couldn't be found quickly. Eventually, Ed Harris stepped into the role and completed the film. Eric Stoltz was weeks into filming a major movie when everything suddenly changed. The team behind Back to the Future originally wanted another actor for Marty McFly, but scheduling conflicts forced them to cast Stoltz instead. As production continued, key figures working on the film felt his performance wasn't generating enough laughs in early footage. They eventually decided to replace him with their original choice. During filming, Stoltz reportedly stayed deeply in character, even asking everyone on set to call him Marty. When he was removed from the project, some crew members were reportedly relieved, and the film later became a massive box office success. What if almost an entire movie cast got replaced before the film was finished? That's exactly what happened with The Good Dinosaur. Disney and Pixar originally announced a voice cast that included several well-known actors, and the project appeared to be moving forward as planned. Then, everything changed. Less than a month later, original director Bob Peterson was replaced by Pete Sohn because the film was facing story problems. Sohn made major changes to the movie, including reworking the main character and shifting the story into more of a Western survival adventure. As the film transformed, nearly the entire original cast was replaced, with only Frances McDormand remaining. Chris D'Elia had already finished filming a major Netflix movie when the filmmakers decided to erase his role completely. D'Elia was originally part of Army of the Dead, but after a series of sexual misconduct allegations surfaced, director Zack Snyder chose to replace him. The production then undertook an expensive and complicated reshoot, bringing in Tig Notaro to take over the character. Because of coronavirus precautions, Notaro filmed all of her scenes alone in front of a green screen rather than alongside the rest of the cast. The process reportedly cost millions of dollars, but the role was successfully rebuilt before the movie's release.
Were you never on set with, like, Dave Bautista or anybody?
I've never met Dave Bautista in my life.